Hey everybody, it's Jessica DeMassa with What's the Future Health. I am talking to the who's who of health tech and healthcare innovation. And today we are going to do a little bit of detective work. We are going to check in with our friends over there at OneDrop because they have literally been dripping one drop at a time, press release after press release after press release with some big announcements. And so we are going to, tie all of these things together and get to the bottom of this. And to help us do that, we have their Senior Vice President of Commercial Strategy, Rachel Yap Martens. Rachel, it's so good to have you here.
Hi, Jessica. So good to be here. So good to chat with you. I promise all of these little droplets are connected.
All right. So I want to hear the whole thing, but I have to go through these real quick for those who may not be keeping track. So the last one is this partnership announcement with Withings. So now OneDrop employer clients and soon consumers in the fall will be getting Withings devices to help kind of track some of their biometric data, which leads me to remember the 25 billion biometric data announcement that came out, because that number was staggering and blew my mind. And I understand that it's even higher now, 28 billion. And that led me to think back to the glucose forecasts that were announced and also the blood pressure predictions. And all this stuff is like real-time pings to your members that, hey, soon you might have an incident with your blood sugar, or soon you might have an incident that related to your blood pressure. So I'm curious to hear how all of this is coming together, because it seems like OneDrop is marching on a path towards something, and I want to hear what that something is. So I'm hoping you can tell us. Let's start with that Withings partnership, and I want to hear a little bit about that, and I want to hear specifically how it's adding to that biometric data that you're collecting.
Absolutely. So, we're super excited about the Withings partnership. As you know, OneDrop is data-driven, it's predictive, and all of that only works if it drives action. And part of driving action is being seamlessly connected to these beautiful medical grade products such as Withings. And so what we are hoping with our Withings integration, which by the way, allows our users to seamlessly connect the OneDrop app with their Withings body scale and blood pressure cuff. What we intend for that to do is to really make it much easier for someone to be logging their blood pressure data or their weight data, all of which then contributes, as you pointed out, to the currently 28 billion data points that we have. And the reason why this number of data points is so important is because it is the strength of data that helps us give back to our users. What that means is that we could not be giving our users the blood pressure predictions that we're currently giving them without the strength of data.
Okay.
We could not be giving our users, blood pressure insights, right? What's going to happen next without the strength of our data. And so, this Withings integration really goes a long way to taking the burden out of logging for our users, but also making the experience even more intelligent for folks who are really trying to figure out how to keep their blood pressure under control or their blood sugars under control.
All right, what other inputs are going into these, into the OneDrop app that's adding to this? Because you have one of the most beautifully designed like blood glucose monitors I've ever seen in my life. It's like so Instagram worthy, but it's like, I want to hear more about like some of the stuff that's already been in play for years now at OneDrop and how that's adding into this 28 billion biometric data points.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you know, we have our blood glucose meter. We saw that on our web store that is a seamless integration of glucose data points. We also integrate directly with Dexcom, which provides us with that continuous blood glucose data as well. We integrate directly with anything that integrates into HealthKit. What that means is that for people who are wearing a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, we get access or we integrate their weight, their physical activity, their frankly anything that they're doing that's being tracked by Apple Watch or Fitbit. In addition to that, for folks who have been using our blood pressure cuff that we were offering with our employer clients before, as well as people who had been integrating their scales and cuffs to HealthKit, we've been actually seamlessly integrating that weight and blood pressure data as well. We also have anything that frankly our users choose to input manually. So that can include food as an example. And what all of these data points allow us to do is really gain that 360 view of our users and understand the context by which they have logged a high blood sugar as an example, or a low blood sugar. That puts us in a much better position to provide them with insight, advice, support on what they can do next to stay in range.
I really want to hear about the predictive analytics. And
Yeah.
specifically those things that I mentioned at the top about the glucose forecast and the blood pressure insights. I mean, the thing I love about this is that I feel like in a lot of chronic condition care, it's like the person who has access to this data often isn't the member at that point. It's like there's a clinician that's kind of inserted as like a third party, or it could be like a coach, and then, or some sort of data system that then like sends out a ping or a nudge or whatever. But it's like you guys are providing those insights directly to your members, which I think is so cool. Tell me a little bit about how let's focus on the glucose forecast. How does that work? Like, how far in advance does it predict something? What is it like for me as a member to receive this? What data is it using that's my personal data versus like population data, like data that's been, looked at and like science, I guess, extrapolated out from a big population look? Walk us through all of that, Rachel.
Sure. So the first thing is obviously all of our users sort of opt in, right, to any sort of data that's being integrated or ingested by our engine. And you're absolutely right. I think what's so critical here is that all of the data that we ingest is in service of providing a better experience to our user. So what happens is that, so for example, let's say you, Jessica, are testing your blood sugar for the very first time. What we will have is the information that we've collected from you during onboarding. And what we will be able to do with 28 billion data points is identify who are some people like you. Perhaps, the same age, location, gender, with similar goals, with similar diagnoses, and we can start providing you with a prediction of what your blood glucose will do in the next 8 hours, is what we currently have live in the app today. As you can imagine, that prediction for you is going to be based pretty heavily on population data, because you've really just logged one data point. Let's say, in the next 7 days, you continue to log your blood sugar, and you are also logging the food that you're eating. You're also wearing perhaps a Fitbit, so we know how many steps that you're taking. And let's say you're also using the Withings blood pressure cuff, which is now integrated directly, right? And we have your blood pressure data. What that means is that prediction that you're going to see is going to be based a lot more on your data than on the population data. And so the more you provide individual data points, the more your forecast is going to be customized and personalized to what's about to happen to your body. For everyone else who's just getting started, the data wealth of 28 billion data points really comes to play, and allows you as a first-time user, a first-time logger, to benefit from the community of people who are sharing their data and actively logging and actively really contributing to the intelligence of this engine.
That is so cool. I mean, it's like the recommendation engine of Amazon, only but like specific to my health. Like that is really neat. And I love that the more you use the OneDrop app, or the more you use all the different devices around you, the more specific it will get tailored to you. But I think it's important to say, like, if you newly receive a diagnosis and you're, completely concerned about your health in that moment, there is something to be said about having like the reassurance of like, okay, like, here's what we've learned from an entire community of people who are similar to me about what could be going on in my body. I feel like there's a level of reassurance in that, right, Rachel?
Yeah, no, totally. And it's interesting because, and I sort of go back to the predictive element of our app, right? And the importance of this 28 billion data points and sort of all the things that we're doing is, there's so many things in our life that we depend on predictions for. And, up until we started doing that, health data is almost by definition retrospective, right? It's sort of what your body has been doing. And so in the same way that you probably wouldn't leave your home in the morning anymore without checking the weather forecast, right? We want that type of empowerment and that type of ability to plan for what to do best for your body to exist in health. And so absolutely, for the person who's been newly diagnosed, right, knowing what your blood sugar is at this very moment, of course, is extremely important. But you're already there. Knowing what is about to happen next that can help you plan your day help you know what you should be doing, help you decide when you're going to take a walk or what you're going to eat for breakfast is so much more important in preventing a future adverse event or some sort of a negative
Gives
outcome.
you so much more control on something that I've heard, from those who I've talked to in, this aspect of the industry, their patients or providers or whatever. It's like, that's often the feeling that a lot of people have when they receive like a diagnosis. They feel so like things are out of control all of a sudden. So it's like, I love the idea that it's like, it gives an added element of information that can help kind of squash that and put somebody back into the driver's seat for their own body. So that's like, that's like the worst feeling, I think, is when you're like so frustrated where it's like, I just don't know what to do. And you need a little bit of extra information to put that control back into place. I'm curious about the feedback that you're getting from users on this. So, I mean, obviously you guys have been in market with this for a while. So tell me some of the things that you're hearing, either anecdotally or if you have any outcome stories that you want to share. I would love to hear how people are actually responding to this.
Yeah, so we actually ask for feedback directly in our app. So one of the things that's been very important to us is that everything that we do is, really serves our users and creates an amazing experience. And so we ask our users, right, hey, was this helpful for you? And so far, 94% of our users have reported that those glucose forecasts and those insights have been helpful. We also have great anecdotes from the sort of conversations, obviously anonymized, that our members have with their coaches that really talk about having a better understanding of how their actions impact their health. And all of that really comes together because of that forecast. And so someone is able to see, hey, I ate, oatmeal and a banana for breakfast this morning, right? I checked my blood sugar, I logged. I'm about to see what's happening next. And so I can make an informed decision as to, am I going to have the same breakfast tomorrow? Or am I going to work with my coach to figure out what might be a better breakfast for me personally to have?
I think that's so interesting. On the blood pressure insight side, I mean, we spoke more on the glucose forecast in this conversation so far, but what does the blood pressure insight tell you?
So the blood pressure insights really, tell you what's about to happen. And for blood pressure, unlike glucose, right? So I'll sort of step back. For blood glucose, the next hour, the next 3 hours, the next 5 hours are very meaningful. That is sort of the range of time within which you can really affect change. For blood pressure, the range of time is a little bit different. In fact, sort of measuring what your blood pressure is going to be minute to minute doesn't mean as much, because like something could be super exciting, or like I could walk up a flight of stairs, my blood pressure could change. And so with blood pressure insights, we take a slightly longer time horizon to provide the same type of actionable insights to our users.
Okay.
Your blood pressure is going to be trending up over the next week or so. Here is something that you could be doing to help improve that or help stay in that trajectory. And, if I sort of bring this all the way back to the Withings blood pressure cuff, right, and that seamless integration, what a user will be able to do is log their blood pressure, see this insight, follow the recommendations, and then see that trend seamlessly over the course of the next 7 days. Hey, did that really come true? Was I able to prevent this increase that my prediction was, or my insight was providing me, at 7 days ago? It sort of really creates that continuous feedback loop that really helps a user feel in control of their health. And by doing this for blood pressure, in addition to blood glucose, we really expand, right, the number of users that we can serve with that continuous feedback.
We are starting to connect the dots on these things. I'm serious. Like, no, it's like I'm watching this stuff come out and it's like, wait a minute. Like, hold on a second. Like, I just needed somebody to kind of put all these things in line for me and explain how it works. And so this is, to me, and as I'm piecing this together, as I'm watching these stories come out, this is so different than the kind of conversation that I was having even just a year ago about chronic condition management. I mean, previously it was just very much focused on trying to get the right information to the patient at the right time. Like that was like that was it. People just wanted to hit that. And it's like, this is so beyond, in the sense that it's really trying to not only help provide that information that they need in real time, but also like what's going to happen next. So I have to ask you, what's going to happen next, Rachel? Because I keep seeing continuous health sensing coming out carefully tucked into those press releases that I'm reading. And I want to know a little bit more about what that is. So what is this term that you guys have coined over there at OneDrop, continuous health sensing? Tell me about this and tell me where this is taking us.
So I think, obviously we are working on a biosensor that is capable of minimally invasive sensing.
Part of me wants to jump up and down right now.
Sensing analytes in your interstitial fluid, beginning with glucose.
Okay.
If I take a step back to continue with health sensing and sort of that loop that you were talking about, right? Really, this, whether it is sort of, fast forward, a year or so into the future with our biosensor, or with all the integrations that we have today, that sort of thin red line that stays constant is that we want to empower all users to know what is happening with their bodies right now, to know what is about to happen with their bodies next, and to know how to take action to either improve upon that, avoid something, or stay on that trajectory. Right? That sort of 3 steps is always going to hold true. And so when I think about sort of going from today's exciting news, Withings integration, to what we're trying to do with our minimally invasive biosensor, it still really builds upon this core of continuous health sensing, which is knowing what your body is doing at any given time so that we can intelligently help you understand what your body's about to do. And as I think about what's next for OneDrop, right, where will we be 12 months into the future? We're excited to bring this biosensor to market.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. I love the teasing that's going on here, and I know what I can and cannot ask about it, but you said year and a half, bringing it to market, biosensor, minimally invasive, all those keywords clicking in my head.
I mean, we're super excited. I am also like, what else can I say? Because I want to say all the things. But listen, I think we're gonna start here with glucose. But really, when we say continuous health sensing, it's because the potential of what else we could be sensing with this biosensor, even going into the future, is something that is continue to be explored. And frankly, the potential is so huge. And so that continuous feedback loop that today, right, our users living with diabetes are starting to understand, particularly ones who are fortunate enough to have access to a CGM. We want to make that more accessible to more people. And then we want to bring this continuous feedback loop to people who care about analytes beyond glucose.
Okay.
And that's why we talk about continuous health sensing, because we want to close that loop for really everyone who has something important in their bodies that they need to measure.
Okay. Analytes beyond glucose. We're going to have to Google that when this is over and just see what the list is, because I can't imagine you'll give me one. But I love the fact that you guys are talking about I love the fact that you guys are talking about it in the first place, because I think that's been a question in a lot of people's minds for a while now. What's going on with that sensor technology? And then, I've heard some teasing that Jeff has done in some other podcasts and in some other press releases, and it's like shadows of it are everywhere. So thank you, Rachel, for giving us a little bit of a scoop on this. I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, you are going to have to check back in with us when things get underway with that sensor, because I love everything I'm hearing there. That is a potentially game-changing innovation in this entire space. And it's interesting to see what you guys are building and how, like I've deduced here, you guys are laying these steps to get over to that. So that's pretty incredible stuff. All right, Rachel, well, we will, like I said, check back in with you. Thank you again for your time here today and for chatting with us. Congratulations on the partnership with Withings, all of the billions of data points that brings into the mix here. And then, like I said, we can't wait to catch up on that sensor next.
Thank you, Jessica. I'm so excited to be able to share more soon when the time is right. But thank you so much for having me today.
Oh my gosh, no, it's a pleasure. I'm Jessica DeMassa. For more interviews with those who are changing the way that we do healthcare in some very big ways, please check out my YouTube channel over there at youtube.com/WTF Health. Big thanks again to Rachel Yap Martens. She is the Senior Vice President of Commercial Strategy over there at OneDrop. We'll check in with you soon. Don't think I'm going to let you off the hook on that. Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Bye.